Well, it's 5:30, so good evening, councillors, and welcome to our planning meeting. At this time, we have no members of the public present. They could be joining on a later time. We begin tonight's meeting with the acknowledgement that the land on which we are gathered is in the traditional territories of the Anishinaabe, specifically Mississauga. We would also like to acknowledge the North Channel Métis Council. We say miigwech to say thank you to Indigenous people for taking care of this land from time immemorial. We are called to treat this sacred land, its plants, animals, stories, and its people with honor and respect. And we have a resolution to approve the agenda. This is moved by Deputy Mayor Summers, seconded by Councillor Betty Ann Dunbar. All in favor of this motion? And that is carried. And are there any declaration of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, we can move forward to agenda item number 4, 2 planning applications. And the first one is V 2022-006 2126 Highway 557. And I will turn the meeting over to our CAO. And the floor is yours, Ms. Scott.
This application was brought forward through the proper application process for the creation of a garage that will exceed the approved coverage of the land currently occupied by the resident of this property. The additional use would be for a 2-story garage, not for dwelling purposes, only for storage purposes that would clean up the other small sheds that are on the property. So it would create a cleaner space in that area. We received no concerns from this application, positive or negative. Nothing was received.
Thank you. And does council have any questions on this application for minor variance? Seeing none, we can move on to ZBL 2022-002 84 Indiana Avenue. And go ahead, Ms. Scott.
For this application, I will turn the floor over to our planner, Mr. Kevin Jarvis.
Good evening, Your Worship and members of the committee. Kevin Jarvis is here. I'm Senior Land Use Planner, but Vanessa Smith is also here from Tulloch Engineering, and she will actually be the planner that will take you through this application. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. And through you, Madam Chair. Hopefully everyone can hear me.
We hear you fine. Thank you.
Excellent. This town initiated zoning bylaw amendment proposes to change the zoning classification of 84 Indiana Avenue from OS open space to RM residential multiple. The lands are located at the corner of Indiana Avenue and have an approximate lot area of 5,200 square meters. The lands are relatively flat, grassed, and are presently vacant. Historically, they have been used for recreational parks purposes, and it is also noted that they may have been used for industrial purposes in the past. Surrounding uses include low to medium density residential uses, schools, community facilities, and open spaces. The lands are proposed to be rezoned to RM, which is a residential multiple, to permit medium to higher density residential uses. The RM zone permits for uses such as apartment dwellings, multiple unit dwellings, row and townhomes, and continuum of care facilities, in addition to other residential and public uses. The intent of the application is to provide broader permissions for residential uses and promote appropriate higher order intensification. The application has been evaluated against policies found in the provincial policy statement, so that is the PPS, and the growth plan for Northern Ontario, the GPNO. And it is our understanding that it is consistent with these policies for the following reasons. So I'm not going to list all of them, but the subject property is within the town settlement area boundary. The proposed development contributes positively to improving the mix of residential uses and tenures in the area. The lands are serviced with municipal water and sanitary sewer, which is the preferred form of servicing in urban areas and more efficiently uses this infrastructure. The subject lands are located within walking distance to Blind River's downtown core, about approximately 500 meters. And there is active transportation options such as sidewalks located on both sides of Indiana Avenue. The proposed rezoning will improve the mix of possible land uses in the area and will also serve to encourage and provide for increased available housing opportunities given the permitted uses that I had previously discussed in the RM zone. Development on the site will contribute positively towards minimum targets for intensification and redevelopment within built-up areas and actively responds to market-based needs for more affordable housing in your community. Lastly, the application supports long-term economic prosperity by actively promoting opportunities for economic development and helps to enhance the vitality and viability of main streets through increased density allowances on the use of this infrastructure. The lands are currently designated living area in the town's official plan, and permitted uses in this designation include but aren't limited to low density housing, medium density housing subject to section 529, public institutions, places of worship, and local convenience retail. Since this application proposes to rezone the subject lands to RM, they have been assessed against section 529 of the OP, which outlines the locational criteria for medium density uses. With respect to that criterion, medium density uses medium density residential uses may be permitted in living areas, provided that sites are located close to public parks, schools, community residential facilities, and local commercial facilities, and have direct access to arterial collector roads. Medium density developments are also encouraged to be located within proximity to your downtown. With respect to this criteria, the planning report has noted that the subject lands are within proximity to schools, the town's waterfront and its recreational uses, the community arena, and is located approximately half a kilometer from both the Trans-Canada Highway and the downtown and the commercial opportunities that these areas provide. In conclusion, the proposed zoning bylaw amendment will revitalize a currently underused site close to the town's waterfront and open space areas, and in doing so provides an opportunity to add a diversity of housing types to the community. Given such, the application is consistent with the 2020 PPS, conforms to the growth plan for Northern Ontario, the town's official plan, and represents good planning and is in the public interest. For these things, it is recommended the application for zoning bylaw amendment be approved, and Kevin and myself are certainly here to take any questions any of you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Vanessa. And does council have any questions for Vanessa on the presentation as it relates to this planning application and the amendment? Councillor Pastorero, followed by Councillor Jim Dunbar.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to say that I definitely will be in favor of this at the meeting. I'm surprised that some of the people that sent letters aren't here. Maybe the time change is why some of them aren't on. But not only the documents that are mentioned, is it in line with that, but the Ontario population just recently elected a Conservative government. And the document that we read, which was the Ontario Housing Affordability Task Force report, also definitely supports this kind of rezoning when we're looking at revitalizing and growth in the communities. Some particular pages of interest that prior to the meeting, if you haven't already done so, to take a look at is page 12 to 13 and page 17 of that task force report. Just so councillors understand, for example, the acronym NIMBY and banana. We want to ensure that we're not stopping it just because we're afraid of what the development might be. And on page 17 and section 27C stipulates that there could be repercussions for municipal governments that prohibit development that would increase housing. And with this government that has a sweeping majority, they want to build 1.5 million houses in the next 10 years. And I know you're probably surprised that I'm quoting a Conservative document, but but just we need to be aware that this is the future with the housing crisis that we're in. If we want to attract, retain, and have a growing and thriving community, we need to be open to new development. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Councillor Postrero. Councillor Jim Dunbar.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was looking through the document or the Tulloch report, and it says in addition to these multiple units, it says in addition to other residential and public uses, can these also be singular age-friendly development for single lots in the area? Can a single lot be, once we go to a multiple, a residential multiple, can singular lots be sold in that, like, let's say 6 lots for age-friendly singular projects, singular homes? I guess what I'm saying is it can be residential singular also.
Vanessa, go ahead.
So if you were to go to section 8 of the zoning bylaw, single detached dwellings would not be permitted in this zone.
And are there any further questions or comments that Vanessa or Kevin could address for this planning application?
Through you, Madam Chair, perhaps I can elaborate a little bit more on the basis of the zoning bylaw amendment and how it intersects with the question that was just asked regarding single detached dwellings, if I may.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Thank you very much. So, of course, this application was and largely initiated as the result of the land inventory analysis that Tulloch and the town has been proceeding through for the last couple of years. This property was identified through that review as one that could be potentially declared surplus. It is, of course, in the municipality's ownership currently, but it could be potentially declared surplus and sold to another party who could undertake some form of development. Now, the application that's in front of you today is largely, it's an effort that's called pre-zoning. And pre-zoning is the idea where if a municipality has ownership of lands that they are disposing of, they could go through a process where prior to declaring surplus and selling, they can rezone the lands to a use that would be, for lack of a better term, the highest and best use, or the highest and best use that the town may want to see locate on that parcel. The zoning classification to the RM was done quite specifically because, again, through that lands inventory analysis, it was determined that this property was a suitable candidate for potential medium and higher density type uses in the future once the property is transferred to a private developer or private owner, and the preclusion for permission for single detached uses, although that's just a part of the standard RM zone, because of the intent of the zoning bylaw to encourage future users and future purchasers to density use. The RM zone is seen as most appropriate because it encourages exactly that kind of use, while it discourages or it removes or it doesn't allow for the permission for single detached dwellings or your more typical ground-oriented plan of subdivision. I hope that you got most of that explanation. I'm not sure if my internet was cutting out there. Thank you.
It was cutting out a little bit, but I do think that we got the gist of it. I know personally, I've had senior residents in our community ask if there was any possibility going forward about having something in the neighborhood of assisted living, where individuals would have their own apartments and be able to cook on their own, but also possibly have the opportunity for a central area. I know we have an existing apartment building in town, which wasn't intended to be for senior living, but has evolved in that way. And it has very, very positive results for people who are living on their own, and in a lot of cases they're widowers or widows, and they're looking for the camaraderie of like-minded people. And it would be so nice if we could offer that for them, and it would also allow them to sell their homes, and that would solve some of our housing issues that we're continually having, since everyone realizes that Blind River is the place to come and live. So in keeping with that vein, this could be something that could answer, the win for our seniors, as well as the win for newcomers coming to our community and looking for a place to reside. So I do thank you for this information. And I ask council, I see Deputy Mayor Summers has her hand up. Go ahead.
My comment, just leading back to the single dwelling, to Katie, I was just wondering, do we still have single dwelling lots on Young Fox that are for sale from the town? Like I can't remember what the last what it looked like the last time we saw the listing.
Through you, Madam Mayor, we have potentially all of the lots that were currently severed spoken for. There is the potential to have some other lots developed in that area that we can look at as the next step. And we do have other buildable lots for sale within the community as well.
Right. Okay, so technically, we do have lots that could be sold for single dwelling. Then it's not like we need to, that would be the only place that we would have that would be able to have housing on. So I think it's a good idea to rezone it, to have anyone that is interested in coming in to build some sort of something like what the mayor was talking about, seniors housing or that sort of thing. Certainly we have a lot of seniors out there who would like to have that type of living space where they can be among others that are, around their age and have the same things that they like to do and that sort of thing. So, and it frees up their houses as well. If they're living in town in homes, then their houses can go up for sale, and that just brings more people into town that way as well. So I'm totally in agreement with this as well, for whatever type of thing that we could bring into town. Anything would be good for the town for sure.
Thank you. And Councillor Postrero?
Sorry, I lied. I said it's all I had to say. I have one more question. With the residents that were given the letter about the zoning amendment, were they given the Tulloch report? Because I know, for example, one of my colleagues who was singing Joni Mitchell to me for the last week, if they had saw page 2, I think it's quite clear, because their concern was that it was going to pave over the tennis courts, it was going to pave over the entirety of the green space. And it's quite evident in page 2 that there's quite a substantial amount of green space that is left, including the tennis courts. So I know some of the letters that were of concern were afraid that the entirety of the green space was going to be taken over. So were they given this Tulloch report, or was it just a letter?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to answer your question, no, they were given the notice. They were not given the report. The report, though, is public on this meeting, as well as it will be available in the open council meeting should they wish to see a copy of that report. But there, in the application, there is a map drawn showing the area that would be covered in this multi-use area, which clearly shows the tennis courts are not part of that. Also happy to send them a copy directly if you want to provide me with that information, or you're welcome to send it on yourself.
And are there any other questions as it relates to this application? Seeing none, we can move on to resolution to adjourn. And I have a motion from Councillor Roy, seconded by Deputy Mayor Summers, And I'm just bringing it up on my screen. Be it resolved that the council adjourn the public meeting at 5:50 PM. All in favor of this motion? And that is carried. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you at the council meeting at 7 o'clock. And thank you also to Vanessa and Kevin. It was great to have you here tonight.